The shovel didn't just strike dirt, it hit a pressurized pipe. A hiss erupted, loud enough to make the worker leap back, splattering mud across his neon vest. A geyser of water shot skyward, drenching the clipboard of a woman in oversized sunglasses and a garish yellow visor. That woman was Deborah, president of the Cedar Grove HOA, and she had no clue she'd just out at a fight with the wrong neighbor. I stood 20 feet away, hose in hand, watching my front lawn get torn apart by a crew that hadn't bothered to knock. They were hacking through my irrigation like it was a wilderness to conquer. The kicker? I had a legally recorded easement and a secret backup line under their precious brick sidewalk. Deborah had started a water war she couldn't win. 3 days earlier, I noticed my west end sprinklers weren't working. I thought it was a clog or a faulty timer. I tweaked the controller, checked valves, swapped a sprinkler head, nothing. Tracing the line along my property, I spotted the problem. A fresh trench, tire tracks, orange spray paint on my grass, and Deborah, smugly directing 2 guys in high-vis shirts as they shoveled my topsoil into a wheelbarrow. No contractor logos, no permits, just her waving a clipboard like it was a royal decree. I asked what was happening. Without looking, she said, "Your unapproved underground pipes are on HOA land. We're removing them. Consider this a courtesy." When I pointed out she was on my side of the easement, she sneered, "This isn't your easement, it's our common use buffer." I showed her my survey map. She dismissed it. "File a complaint with the board," she said, turning away. The next day, my lawn looked like a war zone, trenches through flower beds, water pooling near shrubs, drip lines slashed, mulch in heaps. Worse, they'd cut the line that managed runoff from my back slope, critical for protecting my retaining wall during storms. Without it, heavy rain could destabilize everything. That night, I dug out a dusty box from the attic. Inside were maps, surveys, developer letters, and a 1996 utility easement, notarized, granting me rights to maintain irrigation and runoff systems across the buffer zone. It even had a clause allowing a secondary line under the HOA sidewalk if the primary failed. I laughed, then nearly wept with glee. Deborah had activated my secret weapon without knowing. I waited until morning, letting her revel in her cone-strewn, mud-soaked victory. Then I approached, easement in hand. "You've made a mistake," I said politely. She glanced at the document like it was trash. "Our bylaws give us jurisdiction," she snapped. I smiled. "This predates your bylaws. The HOA didn't exist in '96. She bristled. "Challenge it legally. Meanwhile, here's a $2,500 fine for noncompliance." She handed me a printout. I didn't blink. "Perfect. I'll add it to the lawsuit." That afternoon, I called my friend Jake, a contractor who owed me for a tech favor. We spent hours with a GPR scanner, confirming the backup route under Deborah's beloved sidewalk. Jake grinned. "You sure about this?" I nodded. "They dug up my yard and billed me. Let's tap the backup." By sunset, my sprinklers were back, routed through the hidden line, no HOA turf touched. Deborah, clueless, sent another fine for unauthorized water access when she saw my lawn greening. I framed it beside my easement and watered my tulips, humming a legal drama theme. But the real fun was coming. Deborah didn't know what happens when you dig without calling utility locate. Her sidewalk was about to leak in more ways than one. The next morning, my sprinklers hummed, fed by the secret line. From the sidewalk, nothing looked amiss, no trenches, no valves, just clean brick. But beneath, water flowed, legally and quietly. Jake returned, and we fortified the setup, installing a hidden valve box under a stone slab, a secret control switch. Jake laughed. "Cleanest sabotage I've ever seen." I smirked. "Not sabotage if it's legal." Deborah kept pushing. A letter appeared in my mailbox, no stamp, just stuffed and fining me for unauthorized subterranean utilities. I tossed it in the fire pit. Then she upped the ante, posting signs and caution tape along the trench, calling it a community flower installation. It looked absurd, like a construction site in a suburban garden, drawing neighbors' questions. Why the tape? Why no vote? Her arrogance was unraveling her. Then came her boldest lie. She accused me of stealing community water, claiming I'd rerouted HOA supply. She marched over with a board member, Harold, who looked miserable. They demanded to see my irrigation controller. I said I'd comply with a court order or utility inspector. Deborah fumed. Harold muttered about miscommunication and fled. She shouted, "This isn't over." She was right, her sidewalk was failing. Sprinkler pressure in her flower zone dropped, plants wilted, and the brick began to settle unevenly. A crack appeared. I casually told a board member. Could be water displacement from unpermitted digging. Soil shifts. He looked stunned. At the next HOA meeting, residents were furious. The budget was strained, no one had approved the project, and the sidewalk was a liability. Deborah blamed negligent homeowners, but the crowd turned. Someone questioned the lack of notices, another mentioned my easement. I stayed silent, her own mess was sinking her. That evening, Jake and I toasted on my patio, my garden thriving under the backup line. But I had one more move, a legal ace buried in the laws Deborah ignored. The chaos grew poetic. A sprinkler in the HOA's garden sputtered mud, baffling residents. Deborah, once fining with glee, was now digging through mulch, clueless that the water she disrupted was feeding my lawn and ruining hers. She installed a cheap security camera aimed at my property. I hacked its unsecured feed, looping footage of a squirrel riding my sprinkler like a cowboy. Then a county utility inspector arrived, tipped off by an anonymous complaint, maybe mine. I handed him my easement, maps, and photos of Deborah's unpermitted dig. He confirmed violations. Her crew had damaged a runoff trench, risking flooding for multiple homes. When Deborah tried to argue HOA authority, he shut her down. Easements trump landscaping plans. You should have checked with the county. The fallout was swift. At the next meeting, residents demanded answers. Harold quit mid-speech, saying, "I'm done." The board faced questions about misused funds and liability. Deborah pointed at me, claiming I'd sabotaged community harmony. I held up her violation letter. "You fined me for using my legal line, dug without permits, damaged county infrastructure, and now blame me." Silence. Motions passed to suspend her, investigate spending, and negotiate with me to avoid court. That night, Deborah hired an unlicensed crew to secretly patch the sidewalk. My HD cameras caught it all. I sent the footage to the county. Citations piled up, the sidewalk was fenced off, and an investigation into HOA funds began. Deborah vanished from the newsletter, her nameplate gone. But I wasn't done. I compiled a case file, documents, photos, videos, drone shots, and shared it with the board and county, ensuring it was untouchable. The sidewalk collapsed on a Wednesday, buckling slowly, a crack spidering across the bricks. Rainwater pooled, and a kid nearly crashed his bike. The county taped it off. Neighbors pieced it together. Deborah's rushed, unpermitted work caused it. Acting President Martin, a nervous lawyer, called an emergency meeting. I brought a binder, my easement, photos, timestamps, and the illicit dig footage. As I showed Deborah directing the cover-up, gasps filled the room. Votes passed to suspend her, audit funds, and settle with me. Martin called, offering to fix my irrigation, repave the sidewalk, and apologize if I dropped legal threats. I agreed, on condition they add easement training to the HOA charter. He called it the smartest idea in years. Licensed contractors arrived, installing a new sidewalk with access panels and a plaque, community easement line, maintained in partnership with homeowners. My irrigation got upgrades, and a new runoff trench was added. I hosted a barbecue to celebrate, neighbors thanking me for standing firm. Deborah was gone, rumored to have fled to an HOA-free town. My garden flourished, a quiet triumph. Months later, a flyer signed D appeared, accusing the board of corruption and warning about loophole exploiters. It was Deborah, stirring trouble from afar. I'd already secured my case file digitally, shared with the board and county, and filed with my property records. I also commissioned a garden sculpture, a steel hose curling into a fist holding a shovel, inscribed "Defend what's yours." Water finds its way. Neighbors loved it. Deborah's flyers fizzled, residents tore them down. She was a cautionary tale, her power gone. The mayor's office sent a letter honoring my civic responsibility with a town hall award. I went for the irony, thinking of Deborah's smug clipboard as I accepted. The plaque went in my garage, next to old documents I no longer needed. My garden thrived, the neighborhood calmed, and the sidewalk stood firm, its plaque a quiet reminder of a war won with patience and truth. Deborah may have passed by, fuming, but she knew she'd lost not because I fought harder, but because I knew my ground better than she ever did.